I got a new rock group for you, Tony. This is their latest album, which I'm going to show to camera right here. But before we...
This is the first ever Kiss album. It came out on February 8th, 1974, after having been recorded and mixed in the later months of 1973. Kiss was a brand new band at the time, had almost no following outside of their small group of fans in New York City. And so as a result, the album didn't sell particularly well. I imagine it must have been weird in 1974 to flip through a record store and come across this. This isn't what your normal everyday band looks like. But yeah, Kiss's first single was a song called Nothing to Lose, which came off that album. And like the album itself, did not sell particularly well. I don't even know if the single charted. The album did chart, but like up in the hundreds. Like, it didn't do particularly well, but I suppose that was to be expected from a new band. Kiss did a tremendous amount of touring in support of this album, though. Traversing the United States and Canada, trying to get their name on any bill that would have them. Some members of Kiss' original road crew called it the Dartboard Tour because the concert dates looked like you just had a map of the United States and threw darts at it. It didn't have any rhyme or reason. And the reason for that was just because Kiss had flamethrowers and bombs going off, and obviously the makeup and costumes and the whole stage show, and a ton of energy to boot from the very beginning. So a lot of these headlining acts didn't really appreciate Kiss stealing the show, because Kiss is just an opening act at this point. Like I said, they don't have a huge following. So what would usually happen is they'd get booked on a tour under the stipulation that they tone down their show a little bit, and then they wouldn't tone down their show at all and get thrown off the whole tour in 2 or 3 gigs. That's pretty much, if you look at Kiss's first tour itinerary, it's like 2 shows with this band, 3 shows with that band. And they would even sometimes deliberately, I think I read this, that they would deliberately double book themselves on shows because they knew that band's not going to have us past like show 3, probably. And that's what they would have to do to ensure that they had a steady schedule, because they were so used to just being thrown off of every tour. So the first tour dates they ever did were in February, the first week of February 1974, and it was actually 3 dates in Western Canada, of all places. They played in Edmonton, Calgary, and Winnipeg. For those early shows, they were actually the headliner in little like college campuses. Did not do particularly well. The audience figures are sad. Like in venues that held 200, 300 people, they were drawing like 40 or 50 people. But it was at these shows that guitarist Ace Frehley started to develop the trick where he would put like a smoke bomb in his guitar and it would spew smoke during his solo. But he abandoned it after those first 3 shows because it literally destroyed the electronics of the guitar, and he went back to the drawing board on that one. But eventually, over the years, he perfected it, and it became a staple of Kiss's live show. Yeah, it didn't work so well in the early days. And then from there, they went down to LA. And they had a few appearances in LA, starting with basically the Casablanca Records launch party. This album, when it came out, was not only Kiss's first album, but the first album by brand new upstart label Casablanca. And in those early days, their stuff was, the Casablanca albums were being distributed by Warner Bros. So this was a brand new upstart for them. So they had a big party in Hollywood, filled with all of the industry suits type dudes, and they had Kiss, who was the album, their first artist who was releasing the first album on the label, but it just was so not fitting that they're at this corporate party. So that place was full of like corporate suits type people, the people that like manage the label and A&R and all that stuff. And Kiss shows up with their bombs and their pyro and their makeup, and it just apparently was a total disaster. And you had like business people with their ears plugged, like, yeah, what is going on here? But yeah, while they were in LA, they also did a show at the Long Beach Arena, opening for the new Fleetwood Mac, which would be a cool topic for a video in the future, because the new Fleetwood Mac was not Fleetwood Mac at all. Their manager had a falling out with the band, who was going through some personnel crisis at the times themselves. But the manager, after being fired by the band or whatever, said, I don't need you, I'll get a new bunch of guys and call them Fleetwood Mac. So that's what he did. So in 1974, there was a band touring around using the name Fleetwood Mac that had no association with the band at all. Total another story, but Kiss used to open for them occasionally. And they did that. But while they were in LA, they also filmed an appearance, their very first appearance on television, which was broadcast on the ABC television show In Concert, which was a relatively short-lived concert show. And Paul sort of introduced the band to the world with this awesome introduction.
Hey world, we're Kiss. We want everybody here to come along with us. You've got nothing to lose.
So yeah, that television show aired in March, and I mean, it didn't really get the ball rolling for them in terms of popularity. It got people in to see their shows, though. It got people at least knowing who they were. But this is back in the days. Bear in mind, it's the 1970s. Nowadays, if you have a successful concert tour, you are golden as a musician. If you have a successful album, unless it's very, very successful, it's not... All the money right now is in performing, but back in the 70s, it was very much the opposite. Concert tickets were a couple of bucks, and bands pretty much went on tour to promote their albums. It was the album sales where the money really was, and so Kiss had crowds coming to see them slowly over the course of 1974. Slowly were building an audience that way. But they sure didn't have a lot of money because, like I said, the album wasn't selling. The second single for the album was Weird. So in order to try to find new and interesting ways to promote the band, Casablanca Records organized a kissing contest across the U.S. in various different cities, where the contest was you have to see how long you can stay with your lips locked together. It was weird. And what that has to do with the band or music of Kiss, I have no idea. But, so to promote that contest, they recorded a cover. At Casablanca Records' request, they recorded a cover of the old school early 60s song, the Bobby Rydell song, Kissin' Time, which is a weird choice for a band like Kiss, but they recorded it understanding that Casablanca would use it for the contest and then ignore it and not put it out as a single or anything, but boy were they wrong, and the second single that Casablanca issued for Kiss was the song Kissin' Time. Needless to say, it didn't do particularly well. And then from the second pressing of this album onward, they included the song Kissin' Time on the album, bringing it from a 9-song album to a 10-song album. And apparently Kiss wasn't too happy that Casablanca was using that song. It wasn't their favorite, but I actually kind of like the Kiss version of the song. Also in April of 74, Kiss made a second television appearance. They had brand new costumes made up, and they appeared on the Mike Douglas show, which was a very, very popular television show at the time. And again, it was weird. People were always shocked in the early days to see the band. Especially, the Mike Douglas show had a bit of an older audience base at the time, and they were kind of shocked to see this bat demon up on stage being interviewed.
Here from KISS is Gene Simmons.
Excuse me while I spread my wings.
Oh, yeah, go right ahead. Are you a bat?
Yes. Actually, what I am is evil incarnate. And some of those cheeks and necks look really good.
What?
But again, it meant a lot of people got to see who Kiss was and got people to the gigs. And as the 70s progressed, as 1974 progressed, Kiss was becoming the opening act for bigger and bigger bands and starting to do a couple of headlining shows here and there. In the summer, they released the single for Strutter, which was also on the first album, which again didn't sell. In the early days, Kiss couldn't sell records to save their lives. And back in those days, because again, all the money was in record sales, bands would try to release at least an album a year, if not two. And Kiss was no exception. So in the summer of 1974, they went into the studio to record a follow-up album, their second album of the year, which came out on October 22nd. The album is called Hotter Than Hell, and it's got some pretty weird cover art. Because Casablanca wanted to promote them as being like a strange, mysterious band. And since they wear the kabuki makeup, they thought maybe they could sell that they're a Japanese band coming to America. It's so strange. You got the Japanese lettering. This is not some weird Japanese pressing. This is what the cover looks like. Japanese lettering up here. Their names in both languages. It's such a strange cover. Not as strange as the back cover, which I'm going to have to be very careful in censoring with my hand because there's nudity on it. And I don't think the YouTube algorithm will like that. This is a new pressing, so you get the barcode there. But yeah, this album came out and they thought maybe if we use this strange tactic for trying to make the album eye-catching, we'll sell some more copies. Well, it didn't. If anything, Hotter Than Hell sold less copies than the first album. Not great. Not great for a new band that needs money. But they persevered. They stayed on the road. They kept on doing it. And they started to play gigs in larger venues as an opening act. And by the end of 1974, they were getting more and more headlining dates. Albeit in smaller venues, but the word was really starting to get out there, especially in cities like Detroit. I'm a dork, so I know every date. On April 4th, 1974, Kiss opened for Aerosmith at the Michigan Palace Theater, which is now a parking lot, by the way, in Detroit. I don't mean like the building was bulldozed to become a parking lot. I mean the building was gutted and you can park inside the old theater building. It's really cool. It's a parking garage now. But, whole other story. But Kiss played there and they're probably... the first show was at an outdoor kite fly event. That drew like 4,000 or 5,000 people, and they loved Kiss. And there's actually some audio tape of that first concert, and they loved them so much that Kiss returned the next week to play 2 shows again as an opening act at the Michigan Palace Theater. And throughout '74 they kept playing more and more Detroit area venues, and the word really spread about them. And by the end of 1974. They were headlining 3,000 or 4,000 seat venues in Detroit. And also in cities like Indianapolis, like Terre Haute, Indiana, and South Bend in that area. They had a decent following beginning and getting started up in the Chicago area as well. And in those cities, they were perhaps more popular than they even were in their hometown of New York in those early days. So it was those markets that really launched KISS to stardom. But by the end of 1974, KISS were still not stars. Not by a long shot. They were a band that was getting some rumblings in like the music community. Although not really the music community. KISS in the early days was really shunned by the musical community as being sort of not about the music. They're all about the show. Do they value the show over the music? It's debatable. But probably, I don't know, I really genuinely like KISS's music, but I understand that KISS is a live band. They put all their energy into the live shows. Not fair to say all of their energy, because their music is great, and they are good songwriters, I think, but it was the show that made them where they are at the end. So, yeah, that'll do it for this video. That covers 1974. I'm excited to do the next video in this series on 1975, because that's when the explosion really starts to happen. 1975 was a make or break year for KISS, because they're out of money. Their upstart record label was out of money, and they had to become a success and fast or dissipate entirely because they're out of money. So that was the struggle they faced in 1975. Check that out in a future episode of my vlog. But in the meantime, that'll do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to members of the KISS FAQ community who watched my first vlog from 1973, which I'll link to in the description so you can find that. But yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I'm also a professional musician myself, and in the description you can find a full list of all my upcoming concert dates, with more to be announced always. And also in the description you can find links to where you can purchase my music where it's sold or streamed online. Bandcamp's a great place to do that, grahamstrang.bandcamp.com, because you can get my albums by donation. You don't have to pay a cent if you don't want to, but you can also donate any amount that you'd like. I'm a full-time professional musician at this point, so everything that I get just keeps me going that little bit further, so thanks so much for that. Like this video if you liked what I saw. Subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying this KISS series or any of the other videos I do on this channel, and ring the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a video, which will be tomorrow and every day for the foreseeable future. I started this vlog May 1st, and this is episode 97? Closing in on that big 100. I can't believe I've done this many episodes of this, but I'm enjoying it so much. It's going to keep going for the foreseeable future. That's it for this one. I'll probably do... I'm trying to do these KISS-related videos once every week or two, and just as kind of a side project for me. But there will be a new episode tomorrow, so check it out tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And yeah, catch you again tomorrow.